Hello and welcome to another Game Nexus arcade video. Today we're going to be taking another look at Tekken 6, released in 2008 on the Namco System 357 arcade hardware. In my first gameplay, if you didn't see that one already, I played as Yoshimitsu, but in this one I figured I'd play as Elisa, who is one of the new characters for Tekken 6 Bloodline Rebellion. Of course, if you didn't see my first video, this actually runs on the Namco System 357 arcade hardware, which is PlayStation 3 based.
Round one. Fight.
It's basically similar to the Namco System 369, except it's based off of a original PlayStation 3 model and not the slim like the 369, or of course the later revisions of the 357 were also based off of the slim PS3. Now, Elisa here is basically a robot that Dr. Boskanovich created to be a lot like his daughter, but she has like these saws in her arms and these rockets in her arms and legs. And the other day I was actually reading the Tekken 6 art book that came with the Ultimate Edition, as they call it, of Tekken 6 that I have for Xbox 360. And it said when they had designed Elisa, the idea was that she would fly and that her head would come off. Those were two ideas that they had from the beginning of the design process.
Get ready for the next battle.
And everything else they kind of added from there on. But in the original revision of Tekken 6, of course, Elisa and Lars were not included. And just like how the two characters were added for Tekken 5 Bloodline Rebellion, Tekken 5 Dark Resurrection, Elisa and Lars were added for Tekken 6 Bloodline Rebellion. So basically, other than your normal slew of balancing tweaks, these two characters are now selectable. So if you have an arcade that had Tekken 6 and the operator has updated it to Tekken 6 Bloodline Rebellion, then now you have that same game that you liked, but they have improved a lot of things about it, including two new characters and tons of new balance. And a lot of Elisa's moves are actually really fun. I don't have a ton of experience, but I figured I'd do my best to get a gameplay through and not do terribly bad. And I think I did pretty well here. And I tried my best to do some of her moves, including the throws and everything.
You win.
And now here's that character I was telling you about in the first video, Nemesis. This is one of those characters that I would think would be like the ghost of a card character.
Round one.
And what I found funny in this is it's the Paul Phoenix without the big flat top haircut. And it just seems kind of weird when he puts his hands around his hair and there's no like really tall hair there, so that actual appeal doesn't make any sense. And now there have been so many times when I played this game where this character appears as like stage 3. And there have been so many times, especially when I was first starting playing this game, and he just like beat me so many times. I think in this game he only beat me like once or twice. But actually the other day when I was playing this, another one of these like card characters showed up, which was a Ling Xiaoyu card character that was just called AM1 with a little smiley face. And it was a character with a relatively low win-loss ratio. If I recall correctly, there was like 5 wins and 5 losses, and that's it. And it just seemed weird that this character just showed up randomly the other day, but maybe more of them show up as the machine is played more. Since like the actual battery has been changed and all the settings are saved, maybe the game will show more of that as I play it more and more. That's my thought, considering it just seemed kind of weird. We only have this Nemesis guy, and then all of a sudden the AM1 girl is just showing up, and actually that was actually last night, which is the funny part. And I'll report in my future videos if more of these card characters kind of show up randomly in the game, but it always seems like they're stage 3. They're never like a later round in the game.
Get ready for the next battle.
Now, I lost a couple times here and there, like to that Paul Phoenix character. Of course, it goes without saying to
Round 1. Fight.
To the how do you say it, the boss characters. So Jin and that ending boss character, that's the big dragon. And of course, at this point in playing the game, I have still not beaten that giant robot thing, that Nancy robot. So if anybody has beaten that character in like a normal difficulty, just let me know what your strategy was, because I honestly don't know how you tackle that thing. It just seems so impossible. And I think I lost to Brian Fury here like once.
Round 2. Fight.
And of course, in future videos, I'll feature a bit of the card system, if I'm able to do any decent customizations that really make any kind of difference. And of course, if anybody has experience with the card system and they know of like good items to equip to a character, just let me know what would like be like more interesting to see. And whenever I see Elisa do any of the moves that involve flying up in the air, it always makes me think of Dead or Alive with Alpha 152, because she does a lot of those moves where she'll just like fly through the air and then just totally decimate your character without you having much of a chance to do anything.
Get ready for the next battle.
And now this is one of those plays that I didn't think would really be that hard, but for some reason Mokujin actually beat me quite a few times when I was doing this gameplay. And you would think to yourself, a character who does a random character every time wouldn't be that hard, but it's just like, imagine it being somebody who knows how to play all these random characters really well, and of course it being at stage 5 doesn't make this exactly easy. And I think Mokujin was actually imitating one of the bears right there, because the way that Mokujin was hunched back kind of looked like one of the bears. And during one of my plays, I did see Yoshimitsu as Mokujin as Yoshimitsu, and when Mokujin plays Yoshimitsu, Mokujin will have just like a wooden stick to use as the sword. And then you'll see in this version of Yoshimitsu another sword on the side of Mokujin. So that's how that's the easiest way to know if it's Yoshimitsu.
You lose. Final round.
But then, oh, there you go. There's the Yoshimitsu. That's what I was thinking. And of course, the same thing went for Tekken 4 with Combat. You saw that the character would have like a solid colored stick that would be the sword. And that was like a dead giveaway. Whereas there's a couple of characters here and there that I kind of know their poses and appeals in the beginning. Like one of the ones is if it's that Ling Xiaoyu appeal when she starts out and she's like afraid that she has to fight you. It's so easy to see like Mokujin is doing that. You kind of know that it's Ling Xiaoyu that he's imitating.
Get ready for the next battle.
And now it always seems like in this version of the game you face against Lars. I don't know if it's something that they do on purpose, because I've seen like some plays where I play against Elisa as well. So it just seems kind of random, like which of the new characters you get. And Lars can be a little bit hard at times, because of course he's at stage 5, so I mean stage 6, so there's always a hard time when you face this character at such a late round in the game.
Round 2. Fight.
Although I want to say, just like Brian Fury before him, I don't think I lost more than once to Lars here. And if I hadn't made it more than apparent in the previous game, the previous video, Elisa, Bob, of course Jack 6, because they always change the Jack robot for each numbered sequel, Lars, Leo, Miguel, and Zafina are the new characters for Tekken 6 / Tekken 6 Bloodline Rebellion, because of course, as I had mentioned earlier, Elisa and Lars were the two characters added for this revision of the game. And one of these days, of course, I will do a play of Lars as well, so you can see what he looks like. But he has a lot of really cool, quick moves that are really easy to pull off, and once I get him down a little bit better, I will be able to get a gameplay of that character. Now, the one thing I actually didn't realize until I had noticed this right now was that the PSP version of Tekken 6 actually does not include the scenario campaign mode due to the hardware limitation of the handheld. And now another cool fact here is that this is the first and only game in the series where Leo and Miguel speak English, as well as the last Tekken game to have characters like Eddie Gordo, Christy, and Lily speak English. In the following games in the series, the characters speak in their native languages.
Get ready for the next
And now here, of course, is our boss, Jin. This is one of those battles I do believe I lost quite a few times.
Round 1. Fight.
And now this match can be really hard if you're not really careful, but of course, just as I'd mentioned before, this is one of the hardest difficulties, other than the final boss, of course. So, of course, it's going to be a little bit harder than the previous matches, because they just always step it up with every stage you get past.
Fight.
And if you're not familiar with that scenario campaign on the console version, it's a little bit in the vein of that old Tekken Force mode that was in Tekken 3, but it's more of a 3D type perspective that features more of like a free roam type beat 'em up gameplay, which is kind of fun. But of course the actual one-on-one fighting is a bit better, and that's really where it's at.
Final round. Fight.
And one thing I always find weird when I'm fighting in this stage is the glass that breaks. You think to yourself, was this area actually designed to be a fighting ring? And do they just like replace a lot of glass after fights? Or was this just kind of one of those things like Jin was just here and the person finds him, and then they just happen to fight in this area that really wasn't made to be a fighting ring?
You win. Get ready for the next
And then, of course, here's our final non-playable boss. I think in this gameplay I've probably only lost once or twice to the boss. So, it wasn't that bad. But, this boss can be really, really annoying when he does a lot of his, as I tend to call them, boss moves, which are just, moves that really hurt you badly and they're very hard to recover from. Especially anything that's more of like an area effect where he'll like easily like sweep like the whole fighting arena. Those are the worst moves when it comes to trying to get around them. And for some reason, I actually left a loss in there, which I thought I had edited them all out, but sometimes they just sneak by. But you can get another view of the selection screen right there. And as you can see, if it's an unplayable boss or an unplayable character, they actually won't show up in the versus portrait there. So like, this ending boss, as he's not playable, he doesn't show up in the selection screen even when you continue. Whereas when I'm facing Jin, if I continue, Jin will show up on the selection screen because he's a fully playable character in this game. So when you select your character again, you'll see Jin on the selection screen. I could remember when I first played against this character on the console versions, I was thinking, oh, he's impossible.
Round 2. Fight.
But then again, it goes for a lot of the fighting games which have been really hard, especially with the bosses. But just like if you remember when I played Tekken 5, I had said when I first played Tekken 5 on the consoles, I probably took a good while to be able to beat Jinpachi, because his moveset is just one of those that's to such an extreme that until you kind of learn what he does and how to avoid it, it's kind of hard to do. And now if you remember in my Yoshimitsu gameplay, this is actually kind of the same thing, where I kind of found the jump move that if you catch the boss off guard, you can kind of continuously spam it, and the boss doesn't have much of a defense against this move. And as I had said in that gameplay as well, it's kind of one of those things that doesn't really work all the time, and it doesn't make any sense at all why it doesn't work all the time. It could even be that the game's code is actually glitched, and that's why on occasion you'll be able to do those perfect rounds where you can just do one move and the boss has no chance to recover. Like, I know in the Yoshimitsu gameplay, there was at least one where I got one perfect round just by doing the high knee over and over and over again, which was kind of funny.
You win.
And then, of course, just the same credits as the previous game. And I don't know if I mentioned it last time, but another one of the key differences with the Namco System 369s as opposed to the 357 is the 369 uses a smaller 2.5-inch hard drive, whereas the 357 uses a larger 3.5-inch hard drive. So like a full desktop drive versus a laptop drive. Both systems use USB security dongles that run the game code off of. And then, of course, both of them have the whole aspect where it's a standard PlayStation 3 board, be it the first-gen PlayStation 3 board like the 357 I'm running here, which is the 357A, or the new PlayStation 3 Slim board that the 369 uses, or some of the later 357 revisions also use as well. But other than that, they're like a big rack unit, and eventually I'm gonna have a video where I do a bit more of a comparison and just kind of show them side to side, and even I'll probably even show the 357B unit that at this point I haven't fully got working. But just for comparison's sakes, to show you what they look like. And now, of course, I'm going to be able to rank in as well, because, as I'd said in my other video, since I had to change the battery on the system, all of the high scores and everything were lost. So when I beat it with any character that I haven't beat it before, as 99 minutes is the default high score, you always get a high score every time, so it's kind of cool. But of course, the best part there is that you can then beat your best records every time, and the game saves them. And I believe it saves them on the hard drive, because before I changed the battery, it still saved the high scores. It didn't not save them. So I guess once you switch the system, it erases them, and then it keeps on saving them. It seems like only the clock was controlled by that battery. But yes, this has been another Game Nexus Arcade video, and I do highly recommend you try out some Tekken 6 on your console or on your arcade hardware. I shall see you later. Bye.